Visit from a Vampire. Part 8. Ethan sat at his desk, his fingers moving swiftly over the keyboard as lines of code scrolled down the screen. The dim light from his monitor was the only illumination in his apartment, casting a faint glow across the room. He was deep in the police database again, searching for new names, criminals who might have escaped the system's notice but wouldn't escape Lily's. It had become almost a ritual, his hacking, her hunt. It was still early in the evening, the sky just recently swallowed by dusk. He hadn't expected Lily so soon, which is why the sudden knock on the window startled him. Ethan's heart skipped, and his eyes snapped to the dark window. For a second he froze, wondering if it was something else. But then he relaxed, a small smile curling at the edges of his lips. He knew it could only be her. He slid the window open, the night air cool against his skin. Outside, perched casually on the fire escape, stood Lily, her raven-black hair softly moving in the breeze. She smiled, her fangs barely visible. "Come in," Ethan said, stepping aside. Lily slipped gracefully through the window, her movements as silent as the shadows. She was earlier than usual, and for a moment Ethan studied her curiously. She didn't say anything right away, just moved closer to him, her eyes scanning the police database on his screen. "What are you up to?" she asked, her voice soft but carrying a hint of amusement. Ethan gestured to the monitor. "Just digging through the system, looking for anyone who might need your attention. There's a couple of lowlifes here, but nothing major yet." Lily leaned in closer, her presence both soothing and intimidating. He could feel her cold breath on his neck as she watched over his shoulder. A strange kind of comfort had grown between them, though the contrast of her ancient existence and his modern life always lingered in the air. After a moment of silence, Ethan spoke, breaking the quiet with a thought that had been lingering in his mind for a while. "I've been wondering about something for a while now." Lily raised a brow, tilting her head slightly. "Oh? What's that?" He hesitated for a moment, then turned his head just enough to meet her eyes. "Where do vampires live? You know, during the day." A soft chuckle escaped Lily's lips as she straightened up. "It depends on the vampire," she began, a playful tone lacing her words. "Some live in ordinary apartments with very good sunlight isolation, thick curtains, underground rooms, and lots of protective measures. Others, they prefer something more traditional." She gestured vaguely. "Underground places where the sun never touches, ancient bunkers, secret mansions. The more powerful ones have entire estates hidden away." Ethan absorbed this, intrigued by the diversity of her world. It was so different from the stories and myths he'd heard growing up. He let the silence stretch for a beat before asking, "So, where do you live?" For the first time, Ethan saw something unexpected. Lily's cheeks flushed, a faint hint of embarrassment crossing her otherwise calm face. She looked away, a small, sheepish smile tugging at her lips. "Well," she started slowly, "I'm still new in town, so I haven't found anything fitting yet. It's a bit cheesy, but I've been staying in a graveyard." She paused, watching for his reaction. "Until I find something more suitable, of course." Ethan blinked, a grin spreading across his face. "Wait, seriously? That's pretty cool, actually." Lily's shoulders relaxed, and she smiled wider, her eyes glinting with relief and amusement. "Cool, huh?" she echoed with a playful laugh. "I guess it's not so bad. It has charm." Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. "Definitely cooler than my apartment." Lily nudged him lightly. "All right, enough of work stuff. Come with me, I'll show you my home. It's not much, but it's better than staring at a screen all night." Ethan hesitated, but her tone was so casual, so insistent, that he found himself nodding. "Sure, why not? Let's go." Without another word, Lily took his hand, leading him to the window, ready to slip into the night. Ethan took a step toward the window. He froze, eyeing the drop to the ground below. I think I'll take the stairs," he said, sheepishly scratching the back of his neck. "I don't exactly have your landing skills." Lily laughed, the sound light and teasing. "Fair enough. I'll meet you at the entrance." With that, she gracefully disappeared into the night, her form vanishing from sight in a blink. Ethan shook his head, still amazed by her effortless movements. He grabbed his jacket, slipped it on, and quickly made his way out the door, heading for the stairs. The walk to the graveyard was quiet, the streets eerily empty at this hour. Ethan followed closely behind Lily, their footsteps the only sound cutting through the night air. Soon they passed through the rusted iron gates of the graveyard, the hinges groaning softly as they entered. The moonlight cast long, twisted shadows over the gravestones, making the place feel even more haunted than usual. Lily led him deeper into the graveyard, weaving between headstones and mausoleums, her steps confident and steady. Finally, they stopped in front of an old, grand tomb. It was a large stone structure, weathered by time, with ivy creeping up the sides. Two statues of angels, their faces eroded by centuries of wind and rain, stood on either side of the entrance, guarding the crypt. "This is it," Lily said, her voice softer, almost reverent. Ethan glanced at her, then back at the tomb, taking in the intricate carvings on the stone. The name of the family was etched into the arch above the door: Delacroix. "This tomb belonged to the Delacroix family," Lily explained as she pushed open the heavy stone door, its creaking echoing in the stillness. "They were once a powerful and wealthy family in the city, but after the matriarch died, the family slowly fell apart. No one visits anymore. This place has been forgotten." Ethan took a hesitant step inside, immediately hit by a musty, stale scent. It was the smell of ancient stone, dust and decay, the smell of a tomb. A smell he had faintly noticed on Lily before but had never questioned. Now, standing in the heart of her world, it made sense. Inside, the tomb was surprisingly spacious. The walls were lined with stone coffins, each engraved with names and dates, their lids heavy and sealed shut. At the far end of the crypt stood a particularly large and ornate coffin, its surface adorned with detailed carvings of roses and angels. This was where the matriarch of the family rested, her legacy etched in cold stone. Lily moved toward it, her hand lightly brushing the surface. "This is where I sleep," she said, glancing at Ethan with a small, almost shy smile. "It's not much, but it's quiet. I have the place to myself." Ethan's gaze swept across the room, taking in the candles scattered around, their soft flames flickering and casting long, dancing shadows on the stone walls. His eyes then landed on a pile of old, leather-bound books stacked on a small makeshift table. The titles were faded, written in languages he couldn't recognize. Ancient, forgotten knowledge. "These books—" He trailed off, moving closer, unable to hide his fascination. "Where did you get them?" Lily's lips curved into a slight smile. "Collected over time. Some are older than I am. I read them when I can't sleep, or when I just want to escape." Ethan looked around again, marveling at how this ancient, eerie place felt like home to her. His attention was then drawn to the assortment of candles, which gave the tomb an almost warm living atmosphere despite its cold stone. Lily shifted awkwardly, biting her lip. Didn't expect company tonight. I didn't prepare any snacks or anything. Not that I usually have human visitors," she added with a nervous laugh. "Maybe we should go to a supermarket and get you something." Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. "No need to be embarrassed. But sure, I wouldn't say no to a snack." Lily smiled, her usual confidence faltering slightly in the domestic awkwardness. Before they could leave, though, they both froze at the sound of voices. Ethan turned toward the entrance, and in the doorway stood 4 teenagers, 2 boys and 2 girls, creeping into the tomb with wide eyes. They had probably come to the graveyard on a dare, and now they found themselves face to face with something unexpected. The teenagers stared at Ethan and Lily, their faces pale in the flickering candlelight. One of the boys, clearly trying to impress the others, stepped forward, his voice shaky but brave. "What are you guys doing here? Are you like devil worshippers or something?" Lily's eyes sharpened, a cold gleam cutting through her otherwise youthful features. As she took a slow step forward, her playful smirk twisted into something far more unsettling, her expression darkening, turning almost inhuman. The warmth drained from her face, replaced by an eerie stillness that made her look like something ancient wearing the skin of a young girl. "Maybe we are," she said, her voice dropping to a low, icy murmur that seemed to echo unnaturally in the crypt. Her gaze locked onto the group with a dead, predatory intensity, as if she was studying them not as people but as prey. The way she moved, so slow, deliberate, and cold, felt wrong, like something that had learned how to mimic human behavior but wasn't truly one of them. She paused just before them, her eyes glinting in the candlelight, a stark contrast to the lifeless expression on her face. "Maybe we're in the middle of a satanic ritual," she continued, her voice now a low, chilling whisper that seemed to crawl up their spines, her lips curled into a wicked grin that didn't reach her cold, unblinking eyes. "And all we need now are some sacrifices." The effect was immediate. The teenagers froze, fear rippling through the group like a shockwave. The two girls took a hurried step back, their faces drained of colour, while the boys, who had once puffed out their chests in bravado, now stood trembling, exchanging panicked glances. Lily's presence alone was suffocating, her cold, unblinking stare driving home the unnaturalness of the situation. The sinister contrast between her innocent appearance and the chilling darkness beneath made it impossible for them to stand their ground. "That's enough," one of the girls whispered in a shaky voice, tugging on the arm of the bravest boy. "Let's go." But Lily wasn't done yet. She tilted her head, locking eyes with the boldest boy. "It's a shame," she murmured. "You would have made an excellent sacrifice." That was all it took. With a terrified yelp, the boys grabbed the girl's hands, and the entire group bolted out of the tomb, their hurried footsteps fading into the night. As soon as they were gone, Lily burst out laughing, her fangs showing. Ethan joined her, shaking his head, still catching his breath from the ridiculous encounter. "Well," Ethan said between laughs, "I think you just made their night." Lily grinned, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "I think I just saved ours too. Let's go get those snacks before anyone else shows up looking for a ritual." That's all for tonight. If you enjoy my bedtime stories, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for joining me tonight.